No one heard a scream. No one saw a stranger. No door was forced open. She didn't disappear on the street. She didn't vanish in public. She disappeared from the safest place she knew. Her own bedroom. And for more than 50 years. No one has been able to explain how. It was an ordinary night. That's what makes this story unbearable. There were no storms outside. No power outage. No arguments inside the house. No sense that something was about to go wrong. Eloise Warledge was 8 years old. She followed her usual routine. She changed into her pajamas. She climbed into bed. Her bedroom looked exactly the way it always did. Toys in their usual places, school clothes folded, the quiet comfort of routine surrounding her. Her parents checked on her before going to sleep. She was there. Breathing. Safe. Unaware that this would be the last moment anyone would ever see her alive. The house slowly settled into silence. Lights went off one by one. Doors were checked. The night closed in gently. This matters. Because later, investigators would confirm something chilling. No one in the house woke up. No footsteps. No raised voices. No sudden noise in the dark. And this wasn't a large, echoing building. It was a family home. Which leads to the first impossible question. How does someone remove a child from a bedroom without waking anyone? When no one hears a sound. Morning came quietly. Too quietly. When Eloise's family went to wake her, her bed was empty. There were no signs of panic. No tangled sheets. No open window letting in cold air. Her pajamas were gone. Her shoes were still there. Her belongings untouched. It looked as if she had simply stood up and walked away. But 8-year-olds don't vanish into thin air. Police were called immediately. Officers searched the house inch by inch. They found no forced entry. No evidence of a struggle. No footprints. No witnesses. The doors were intact. The windows unbroken. Some doors were reportedly still locked. The house hadn't been disrupted. And that detail unsettled investigators from the very beginning. Because most crimes leave chaos behind. This one left order. Eloise's room wasn't ransacked. Her toys hadn't been moved. Furniture stood exactly where it should be. It didn't look like a crime scene. It looked like a room waiting for someone who would never return. And experienced detectives know something most people don't want to hear. Scenes that look too normal are often the most disturbing. Investigators tried to build theories. Kidnapping. There was no forced entry, no noise, no witnesses. Runaway. She was 8 years old, with no belongings, no preparation. Accident. There was no evidence she ever left the house on her own. Every explanation collapsed under scrutiny. What troubled police most wasn't what they found. It was what they didn't. Search teams combed the surrounding area. Neighbors were questioned. Streets were walked. Nearby spaces checked. Nothing. No clothing. No shoe prints. No dropped items. It was as if Eloise hadn't moved through the environment at all. And humans, especially children, always leave traces. Days turned into weeks. Weeks turned into years. There were no ransom demands. No confirmed sightings. No dramatic breakthroughs. The case didn't explode. It faded into silence. Not because it was forgotten, but because there was nowhere left to search. As years passed, something else became clear. The timeline didn't make sense. The window between the last confirmed sighting and the morning discovery was too small. Too small for a stranger to locate the house, enter unnoticed, navigate the interior, remove a child, leave without sound, and leave no evidence. That sequence wasn't impossible, but it was unlikely. And that forced investigators to consider a possibility they rarely discuss publicly. What if the person responsible didn't need to rush? What if they already knew the house? Criminal profilers understand something uncomfortable. Most child disappearances do not involve strangers. They involve familiarity. Someone who knows the layout, the routines, which doors creak when people sleep. Someone who wouldn't alarm a sleeping child. Because children don't stay silent for strangers. They stay silent for people they recognize. And that realization changed how police viewed the case. Investigators never publicly accused anyone. Not because they didn't suspect anything, but because suspicion without evidence destroys lives. In cases like this, asking the wrong question too loudly can end an investigation forever. So police did something the public often misunderstands. They stepped back. Not because they had answers, but because they didn't have proof strong enough to speak. Decades passed. People aged. Memories softened. Fear weakened. And fear weakening is exactly what cold cases wait for. Because when fear fades, people talk. When the case was reviewed decades later with modern eyes, investigators noticed something earlier teams struggled to articulate. This disappearance didn't feel random. It felt controlled. Quiet. Precise. Deliberate. As if whoever was responsible understood silence. And that realization changed everything. Police didn't believe the case needed new evidence. They believed it needed old truth. Someone out there knew something. Not necessarily the full story. Maybe just a moment. A detail. A memory they dismissed. A strange sound. An odd interaction. A night that didn't feel right. And that belief is what led to a decision that shocked the public. More than 50 years after Eloise vanished, police dramatically increased the reward. Not for publicity. Not for attention. But because of psychology. Large rewards don't just motivate strangers. They unsettle insiders. They force people to confront a question they've avoided for decades. If I stay silent now, am I choosing silence over truth? The people who knew something in 1976 were no longer children. They were adults. And adults carry guilt differently. Police never said this publicly. But internally, the theory had evolved. This wasn't impulsive. This wasn't random. And this wasn't noisy. It was quiet. And quiet crimes don't happen without familiarity. Even now, investigators return to the same detail. Nothing in the house showed urgency. No chaos. No rushed escape. No desperation. Just absence. And deliberate absence is the most disturbing clue of all. If a child can vanish from a locked home without anyone hearing a sound, what does that say about how safe we really are? And if silence meant familiarity, then the real question isn't how she disappeared. It's why no one spoke. Do you believe some disappearances remain unsolved because the truth is too close to home? Let's hear your opinion in the comments section.